If I sit like this, like a baby, but there's one friend here who keeps sending me pictures. I don't know where she fishes it out from, of my childhood, small baby. Not you. Okay, so we continue. So we started with the 4 sections of Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the first being the Samadhi Pada. Now we will go into it in detail, slowly. Then the second one, the Samadhi Pada, then the Sadhana Pada, then the Vibhuti Pada, and the last one, Kaivalya Pada. Now we'll first generally discuss Kaivalya Pada and then go to other things. Now, Kaivalya, the word Kaivalya is used also in Sankhya and in Yoga. There are only 2 places where Kaivalya is used in the 2 darsana, Sankhya and Yoga. Here and there it has been used in Vedanta, but the actual word in Vedanta for Kaivalya is moksha. Moksha is more frequently used than Kaivalya. Now what is Kaivalya? Kaivalya means also freedom, which is the same as moksha. Now the desire, ultimately that is the aim, Kaivalya, in the Yoga Shastras, which means the yogi, whose mind has become completely purified and quiet and tranquil, free from opposing thoughts and all the war that goes on. Such a mind has moved all its vrittis. Now, what is the meaning of vritti? Let me explain. When you look at the mind, I am looking at my mind, right? Nobody else is looking, I am looking. And sometimes people say, okay, now I have no thought in my mind, I am without thought. Now who is saying that? Me. Which means there is still thought there. What is happening is one part of the mind as a whole, you cannot think of the mind without thought. Without thought, the mind as we know it does not exist. It exists only when there is thought. Otherwise, we are not even aware that there is mind. Right? Which will be nice, but we are not. So what happens is the mind divides itself into 2. Thought. Now this thought, this mind feels that it is too much oppressed by negative thoughts and suffering and contradictions and all these things, and is never free and never comfortable. So it artificially divides itself into 2 for safety and says, actually I am free. But this mind of mine is not free because it has so many thoughts and so many opposing desires and complications. So this cannot be my mind. I am actually that supreme, but it's only the mind that is saying it. It is the mind that is artificially dividing itself into 2 and saying, I am pure, but this is impure. That impure is also me. There is no difference. You get what I am trying? I hope. Because there is usually when you say, oh, I am the Atman. Wait, I am not saying there is no Atman, but we don't know it yet. When I say, I am the Atman, I am free of all this, but my mind, so I am trying to control my mind, so the vritti. When I say me, that itself is a vritti. When I say I, that itself is a vritti. You are not free. So one vritti is trying to consider itself as pure and thinking others are impure, so I need to change it. When we understand both are the same, then the process of changing becomes quiet. You're no more attempting anything, you're just keeping quiet. Then perhaps there is a chance of calmness and quietness coming. Otherwise, there is a tension and a conflict between two parts of the mind. One, I am the pure one. The other, impure one. I am trying to change. You are made up of that. You are not different from that. Show me one time when we are not that. So when I say, in deep meditation, Guruji, I feel that I have no thought. Then who is saying this? I have no thought. Thought. I am still there. Right? So Kaivalya is a situation where both these things cease. There is no vritti of any kind, including the vritti which considers itself as the ego, ahamkara. That's also a vritti, mind you. It's not free. Well, if you're talking about me being that supreme, all-pervading, that is a different story, but the limited mind can never conceive of it. So, when the limited mind becomes quiet and tranquil, then perhaps there is a chance for that to be. Let me put it this way. The mind being made of thoughts, and as the Upanishads and those who have spiritual understanding declare, in manasa namannute, that which the mind cannot conceive is the Supreme Brahman. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. This is from the Upanishad. If that is true, then I as an entity is also part of this illusion. I do not exist. I am existing because of thought. If the thought process, which Patanjali means removing of the vrittis. Now you cannot say that is my mind, because the mind without thought, without vrittis, is not me anymore. Then there is the greater mind which can contact us. We cannot contact it. We have to be. So let me explain a little. I'll give you a nice story, okay? It's difficult to conceive. Imagine, sometimes I get tired of it. Imagine that there is a transparent box in front of you. Plastic. Not plastic, let's say glass. People don't like plastics nowadays. So glass. So we have a rectangular glass box. Now, in the middle of the box, it has no top, no lid, open, free. In the middle of the glass, and there is a small partition. That partition is also glass. You look from the top, or you can also look from the side. You will see that both sides of the box are divided by a transparent wall. Okay. On one side, you see it's very beautiful. There's a nice lawn, there's some water. There are some nice, what you call, armchairs and so on, or tiger skins. And there are some people sitting there and enjoying. And what about these people? They are not like us. Imagine, they are wafer thin. These beings are wafer thin. You know wafer? What is a wafer? In the church, they are given on Sundays, put in the tongue, wafers. Or you can say very thin banana chips. Very thin, which know no thickness. They know only 2 dimensions, which means length and breadth. They don't even know how thick. They are so thin that there is no thickness that you can measure. So they have only 2 dimensions, which is length and breadth. There is no depth and there is no height. There is no thickness. Imagine. There are some creatures like that. And they are in the form of like circles, small wafers like carom coins, but very thin. There are many of them, let's say colored red, on the right side. And on the left side, also there are red ones, but they are enjoying. Only few of them are there, and some are lying like this, some are sitting, enjoying. The other compartment is full of these fellows, and they are always moving, running like our mind. Like thought, they are moving this way, that way, front, but they don't know how to move up because they have no idea of that thickness or height. They are conditioned, like our mind, to think only in two. We are conditioned for three, they are conditioned for two dimensions. But why are they constantly moving? Why is that like thought in the mind constantly moving? Because they can see from the transparent wall that somebody like them is enjoying that sight. In the cool breeze, sitting near the pond, some are drinking wine. I'm not this wine, Amrit. Some are lying in great armchairs and enjoying themselves. They also want to go there. So they are running around. They go and hit the wall, but they can't go to the other side. They're trying. It is legitimate for them to try. They are intelligent. But they don't realize that there is no way to get there like this. Because the wall is there, which is conditioning them from going. And then they have no idea of height or thickness, so they don't know that if they rise up, they can go to the other side. And they don't have the capacity to rise up, just like our mind, conditioned to thinking only about the sensory objects. This is the state of the human mind. These little red-colored wafers in the other compartment, right? They know there is something beautiful there, but they cannot go. They don't know what to do. Now I or you, we are watching this. We are very compassionate and kind. We want these fellows to go there. And we can do it easily because we know that top is open, we can put our hand, lift them up. We know there is a dimension and put them there. But how can I do that? They are always moving. And you cannot do that. If they stop, I can do it. But you're always moving. If I go, it's gone. This is our mind, our thought. Right? So, a few of them, realizing the futility of this movement, realizing that it is difficult to move this way, they settle down in some corner, wondering now what to do. The rest are still trying hard in the way that they know, which is moving this way or that way. Now I see that one or two fellows have figured out that this is not going to work, this movement. They have become quiet and they're sitting in one corner, looking on the other side, wondering, what the hell, Then I see there is one or two fellows who are not moving, so I pick them up and put them on the other side. Now they're happy. And the other fellows are still wondering, how did they go there? I hope you get what I tried to say. I'm not talking about me as a compassionate one. There is something there which would very much love you to enjoy it. But you are caught up in your own thought process, constantly trying to escape in a way which you really cannot escape. When you understand that and calm down, cool down, when the vrittis of the chitta have all been calm, in that calmness, something can take you and put you on the other side. That thing you cannot see with the thought. You may call it whatever you want, but there is something which is an embodiment of compassion, let's say, which has no form, but which you can conceive in any way. Is watching you, but you won't let it do it to you because you are always agitated with your thought process. If this doesn't work, that doesn't work, this. If M doesn't work, Z. Z doesn't work, yes, or can we calm down? Can we quieten down? Understanding the futility of trying to escape through thought, the thought process. Well, some people call it surrender. But surrender in this sense of the term, not surrendering to me. If they surrender, then they say, fall at your feet, we surrender. I can't move now, you hold. I need freedom. This understanding is called yoga. Chitta vritti nirodha. Don't try to define what is taking us around. Try. We cannot define anyway because thought fails when it tries to define the reality. Right? So, this is the meaning of chitta vritti. When this begins to happen, then one begins to understand what is samadhi. And as the mind then begins to enjoy that which is effortless, it cannot come through any effort. Many things can be achieved by effort. But this can be achieved when you, through great effort, understand that effortlessness is the way. Giving up is the way, not holding on. Therefore, the Ishavasya Upanishad says, Tena tyaktena bhunjita, let go and rejoice. You are simply holding on, let go. If you let go, then you are in rejoicing mode automatically. It doesn't mean that tomorrow I will say, okay, I am let going of everything, I am leaving Malaysia, I am going to the Himalayas. It doesn't work. There also people are holding on. It's not as if you will get moksha in the Himalayas, please. Oh, there are so many resorts now in Rishikesh, all will get moksha. What is it? Every weekend people go from Delhi. They throw all the cans around there in Rishikesh and come back. And it's the municipality's job to pick it up on Monday. What do you get out of that? Nothing. Well, you can conduct yoga courses and make a lot of money there in Rishikesh. So, these are the 4 parts of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Now, Huh? I was just going to do that. But I'm sure many of you will be interested in that stars, but that's okay. When I was in Rishikesh with Maheshwarnath Babaji, my guru, I got very interested in all these lights and flames and stars. So I told Babaji, now 1 year I have been doing Kriya with you, been practicing. I'm blessed, I'm thankful. But I want to have some experience. People ask, you know experience in Kriya. So I also was like you. No, not like you, but I want to see the light. He said, okay. He gave me a particular exercise to do. Put up a mirror, light a lamp in front of the mirror, and look at the flame, and do this particular pranayam, particular breathing, not very difficult, and chant this Bijakshara sound. I said, all right. So I started. I did it for 1 week. The end of the week, I started seeing thoughts, people's thoughts, and for the first time I realized that thoughts have images. Thoughts are not just thoughts, they have an image. Every thought has an image. If I meet I'm going for a walk, I meet somebody who looks like a wonderful person, his face, everything is smiling. I said, "Don't know." But his thoughts are terrible. Suppose. What happened to me was then I started seeing these thoughts in form coming out of him. Some of them are like lobsters and crabs and these strange looking creatures. I mean, people eat lobsters. They will be like human head with two crab-like legs and horrible things that you get very frightened of. I saw it coming out of these fellows, some of them. Some good thoughts also, which I was more afraid of because there's some lady sending roses and all. And I was a brahmachari practicing. So, all the thoughts became forms, and many of them are horrible and monstrous things. I couldn't bear it anymore. 2 days I tried. When I said the second day to third day to Babaji, he said, no. That is because your mind is bad. I said, Babaji, please. He said, okay, now you think of good things, and you saw rishis, and I didn't see any. So on the fourth day I told him, is there some technique to get out of this? I can see stars, but along with the stars I see like crabs coming to me. So can we get out of this? He said, you wanted it, so you suffer it. I said, no, I don't want. Please get. Then I understood why they say that you shouldn't get caught up in the vibhuti pada. You should move forward. So I said, I want to discard it. Is there a technique? You know, Babaji, he said, what technique? Gave me one shot and it was gone. What I mean to say is that I can't do that, mind you. If you're seeing crabs, don't come to me. What I'm trying to say is that is not the ultimate. It's like getting stuck in the vibhuti. Even good things like a yogi, as his mind becomes quiet and he begins to meditate and attains some kind of samadhi, little bit, he gets some capacity sometimes to heal. What happens is, once you show it to somebody, then that becomes the main aim in life. You'll be a long queue of only sick people. I'm talking about SICK. There's nobody else. And nobody wants for anything else. I'm sick, so you touch me. There are many medicines in the car. But no, this is not the aim. And then, the whole thing, the Reiki, Piki, Kiki, it starts. Then you're done. You are stuck with the vibhuti bar, you cannot move forward. That's it. You're over. So this is the danger. So while you see this and you understand its limitations, so this is not what I am here for. I need to be really, really free. Well, it's different when you're involuntarily, when the mind is quiet and calm, it becomes powerful. And there is also some compassion. And by mistake, somebody is sick, he gets okay, that's fine. But it's not like everyday affair, like, there was an old Hakim Sahib in the Hamdard Dawakana in Delhi, 95 years old. Every Friday he used to come and sit there. Free treatment. You don't have to pay, but you have to buy from the Hamdard Dawakana the medicine which he prescribed. He used to be there. You go there, he'll first ask you to show your pulse. Then he will say, put out your tongue. Then if you start saying, sir, oh Hakim Sahab, mere pet mein, my tummy here, he says, shut up. You can't say anything to him. He will only read your pulse and he will prescribe. Now the yogi will become like that if he starts practicing it. That's not the intention of the yogi. The yogi's intention is lead one to moksha, to kaivalya. But you get stuck on the way. I'm traveling to Banaras in the train. I want to go and see Kashi Vishwanath. On the way, the train stops at a station. I get down. There's a beautiful shop there with various things. You know what kind of things attract people who go into Varanasi? Rudrakshas, Shivlingas, everything is there. So I'm there, I get so stuck with it. The train is left and gone to Banaras. I am still there. This is the problem. So I think you have a rough idea. Because tomorrow if you start practicing Kriya and you feel very light, don't get stuck and say, tomorrow onwards I want to levitate. Right. Now, we will go to the actual Yoga Sutras. I am using the same book, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali by Sri M. I'm going to read it a bit to you as we start, and then we have 3 days. Today, tomorrow, and after full 3 days we have. So today I will stick to the Yoga Sutras. Tomorrow half day I might. And then slowly we will shift to Kriya. For the next 1.5 days you will have a Kriya session. Now here is the first chapter of this, which I called Why This Book. I won't quote, I won't read that. You have the book, you can read it. But I have a quotation from there, from the Mahabharata. The first chapter starts with the quotation from the Mahabharata, which says, there is no knowledge equal to Sankhya and no power equal to yoga. This quotation is from start with Samadhipada. I'm not going into the introduction and so on. We have discussed the question of whether the concept of a creator God, Ishvara, is an intrinsic part of yoga of Patanjali, and found in the introduction it is not necessarily so. So we can proceed to the theory and the practice of yoga. Please note that even in Sankhya and in Buddhist and the Jain teachings, the idea of a creator God plays no role. I'm not saying the creator God is there or not, it plays no role in the philosophical system. So, Patanjali starts with a very terse sutra, Atha Yoga Anushasanam, which means here begins the study of yoga. So, first, Samadhipada was the first chapter, the study of the superconscious state. Now, here I will stop. According to psychology, there is the conscious state, modern psychology, conscious state, which I think we are all aware of, hopefully. Actually, even this conscious state we are not fully aware of. It doesn't matter. Let's say we are aware of this conscious state. So, conscious, waking consciousness or conscious state is part of modern psychology. Okay. The next part of modern psychology is the subconscious state. Conscious mind, subconscious mind. And the third, according to modern psychology, is the unconscious mind. Right? So conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Conscious mind we don't have to explain. It is the world we live in. Although, I'm not so sure whether what we think is true in the world that we live in, but anyway, it doesn't matter, we leave it. The world in which we live in, which is accessible to us through our five senses. What are the five senses? Instruments of perception, what are they? Eyes, which means sight, hearing, smell, taste and touch. These are the Panchendriyas, the five instruments of perception. The world which we live in, which is accessible to us through these five senses, psychology calls the conscious, right? Next is the subconscious mind, dream, imagination also sometimes. But what you have to note is today, okay, so this is the conscious mind, not this, the subconscious mind is what is made up of all our dreams and our subconscious. Now there's something very interesting. Modern psychology is already beginning to admit that what we call the conscious mind is 60% comes from the subconscious. Although we like to think that it is the conscious mind. Like the media and the ads that we have and the ideas that have been put into our heads by teachings, people and so on, this affects our conscious mind, don't you? Don't you know this? It's very simple. Every day you see TV. In the TV, some brand is shown to us constantly, okay? Latest is BYD in India, the Chinese car. It is shown regularly how sleekly it's built and so on. So when you go to the showroom, you automatically point to the BYD. You think it's a conscious act, but it's based on your subconscious which has gathered this information. Much of our world, 60-70% of our world, although we think it is conscious, is made up of the subconscious. Right? It reflects in everything that you choose, that you buy, that you meet, that you live. And Google God is the supreme reality, the G. The Freemasons have a secret, they won't tell you, that in the central hall, I'm not a Freemason, but I know. In the central hall, there is a string hanging on which there's a big G. So it's called God. So the other day, I was explaining to a Freemason who doesn't know anything and who wants to know what it is. And I said, that G. He said that G is God. I said, no, it's Google. Because it knows everything, almost. So this Google, this G that knows everything, affects our subconscious mind, through that to the conscious mind. So a conscious mind is not always conscious. A large extent comes from the subconscious. Right. Now this is, in fact, modern psychology has got to an extent of saying that even before you consciously think of something, the subconscious has thought about it 1.5 minutes before, 1.5 seconds before. How is this possible? So what conscious are we, really? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we have the conscious mind, and then we have the subconscious mind, according to modern psychology, and then the unconscious mind. And what is the unconscious mind? Sleep, coma. All this happened in the unconscious mind. In sleep, you don't know anything. We don't even know that we exist. In deep sleep, without dream. When we wake up, the whole thing comes back to us. I am so and so, right? I am M, so I have to be respected. I don't think so, I'm just saying. I'm just substituting somebody for M, that's all. So all this come back when you wake up. When you're sleeping, if somebody takes your pants and runs off, you don't know, right? Nobody knows. We don't know who we are, where we are, nothing. This is the unconscious. But that unconscious, according to modern psychology, stores a lot of things which become manifest in the conscious world, also in the subconscious. We are saying, according to yogic psychology, there's another thing which is called the superconscious mind. There is a superconscious mind which is the basis of unconscious, subconscious, and conscious mind. That is the background. It's the ocean from which these waves arise. The waves, even of unconscious and subconscious and conscious, arise out of the ocean which we call the superconscious mind, which unfortunately neither the subconscious nor the unconscious can touch. Fortunately for us, the conscious can touch it when the mind is quiet. Because if we touch it in the sleep state of unconscious, what does it matter to us? We don't know. If you touch it in the dream state, what does it matter to us? It's a dream. If I have to really feel it, I have to feel it now in the conscious. If I know it in the conscious, then I see it through all the other layers. It is also the reason why, even though deep sleep, which in Vedantic terms is called Sushupti, also in yoga, deep sleep, even though it's so blissful and peaceful and is completely tranquil, it doesn't mean anything because at that point we are not conscious of it. When we wake up sometimes, there is a leftover of that deep sleep. And we say, oh, how wonderful it is. I had a wonderful, blissful sleep. I remember when I wake up, or just when I wake up. When I fully awake, it's all gone. Which is why, in the morning, I don't want to wake up. Who wants to leave that bliss of deep sleep and come back to this world where suddenly the fisherwoman hasn't bought fish today? I'm just using an example, because I think Malaysia, a lot of fish is there. Also Kerala, where I come from. So I wanted to tell you because in the Samadhi Pada is basically the study of the superconscious mind. It leads from conscious to subconscious, to unconscious to superconscious. Okay. The second chapter, Sadhana Pada, is the actual practice by which the mind, which is usually agitated, becomes unruffled and quiet. Vibhuti Pada, the extraordinary achievements that happen during the practice or after the practice. And Kaivalya Pada, the ultimate freedom realized by the practitioner or on entering the highest goal. The power of extraordinary awareness and freedom from condition. I'm got fed up with these glasses. So, I want to tell you one more practical use of Kriya Yoga, okay? When I was young, some age, for some time I was not doing any yoga. Even Kriya Yoga I had given up. Because I was with Krishnamurti for some time and I said, so. But then at that time I used to wear glasses. Not reading glasses. To see you, I needed glasses, otherwise you would be a haze. So it was like that for many years. I think when we got married, I was wearing glasses. Luckily, she didn't mind. But then I restarted my practice of Kriya. Then some years later, I went to the commercial street in Bangalore to change my glasses because I thought something was happening, power was bad and so need to be adjusted. So I went to the ophthalmologist and he checked me And he asked me, "Sir, why are you wearing glasses?" I said, "What?" "Because I cannot see properly." He said, "But you don't need glasses." I said, "Yeah, but..." Then he said, "So what should I do?" He said, "Throw it off." I was a little doubtful in the beginning because at that time I used to do a lot of self-driving. To not wear glasses, one thing; to kill somebody is different, right? So, reluctantly, then I threw away my glasses, and till today I have not used them. This I started some 15 years ago, so for reading, especially when something is very small and there is not enough light. I have a feeling it's slowly changing. I don't know. I'm not advertising for Kriya Yoga. Anyway, so, question of distance. Now, I have said this. The choice of belief in Ishvara is entirely the initiate's prerogative. You may or you may not. And when you say Ishvara, you may think of Mahavishnu or Shiva or this formless Supreme, it doesn't matter. Or Tripura Sundari, Rajarajeshwari, it doesn't matter. Depends on which path you are following. What I said is, even if you don't, it's okay. That's what I meant. We are going to have Tripura Rahasya somewhere, no? In Penang. So that's it. Now I'll go to the slokas. Samadhipada, the first chapter. I've taken only Sutra 4 to start with. Is there a need to say the Sanskrit? We can go ahead, no, with English. The sutras are small, but Vrittis Sarupyam Itaratra, it's a sutra. Vritti Sarupyam Itaratra, which means at other times, when the mind is not tranquil and therefore not established in its original state of the seer, seer meaning one who sees. Now, while it says at other times, which means when not tranquil, but this is not other time for most of us, it is always. This is what Yoga Sutras says. For us, most of the time, for most of us, I am also including myself with you, at other times, not established in the original state of the seer of tranquility is the usual state of the mind. Now here I have substituted the word brain for mind. Why? Because I think, my understanding, is the normal thing which we call mind is only the brain. The real mind we don't know. Thought requires brain. Likes and dislikes require the brain. So I say mind in a very high funda way, but actually it's my brain. Like when the brain stops functioning in a coma, we don't know where we are, what is happening. So, Vritti Sarupyam Itaratra can be defined that at other times, instead of saying mind, at other times, which means when it is not quiet, which in our usual daily life is the opposite, all the time. The brain takes the form of fluctuations, conflict and agitation. Which means, when it is not quiet, when the brain is always full of agitations, fluctuations and conflict, as it normally happens to us mostly, The brain itself takes the form of these fluctuations. It is part of the fluctuations and conflict and agitation. When we get rid of that in the brain, then the mind comes into being. The mind has no fluctuation, conflict, or agitation. The true mind. Now, this mind, some people call mana, you can also call it the Atman. But in Sanskrit, the word Atma has many meanings. Even the ego is Atman. Atman means one who feels I am. In the higher sense, it is the Paramatma, but ego also is part of the I. Are you confused? Am I going okay? Please tell me. You don't get confused with everything, all this mind, brain business. All I am trying to say is we think that we have an agitated mind. I am saying that the mind in true essence is never agitated, it is always calm. Then what is agitated? The brain. And the brain, this may be a new way of looking at it. You may not have looked at it this way, I am sure. Now this brain is made up of fluctuations, agitation, conflict. I'm saying as long as there is conflict and agitation and fluctuations, you are still operating within the territory and limitations of the brain. When the brain is free of it through the practice of yoga, that will come to later, then the brain ceases, there is only the mind. And that mind is what we are looking for. We call it the mind, we are using the word mind, but that is the essence of our consciousness. This is what I am trying to differentiate. Maybe new. Not new, actually, I wrote it already. Now, we said fluctuations. Sorry, can I put up? Old age. I can't. So, we said fluctuations, right? And what are fluctuations? Sutra 5 describes the fluctuations one by one and what is the reason for this fluctuation, hoping that we want to be out of this fluctuation. Patanjali is not just standing on your head, okay? Now, there are 5 kinds of fluctuations. Vrittaya, Panchataya, Klishta, Aklishta. There are 5 kinds of fluctuations that happen in the brain. I'm not using the mind at all here. Mind is when everything is quiet and the brain, then the mind. Now, right now, we think it is the mind, but it is the brain. Please make this distinction. And when you understand, I'm not saying you should believe me or follow me, but understand this. Actually, it's very simple when you understand it. Now, what are the 5 types of fluctuations that create all this trouble for us, which prevent us from seeing the actual quiet, tranquil mind, the blissful mind? 1, pramana. What makes us the mind fluctuate, the brain fluctuate? 1 is pramana, which means the knowledge that we have gathered through understanding, valid knowledge. Give you an example. I have met a person, let's say, whose name is Rudra. Not God Rudra. I met a person whose name is Rudram. Anybody called Rudra? I have not heard. There? Or let's say that I have met someone whose name is, now this is very common, Padmanabha or Vishnu. Now I know that this man is Vishnu. How do I know? Through pramana, means personal proof. What is the proof? He has a passport. In India, he has an Aadhaar card. India, I don't give initiation to Kriya unless you have Aadhaar card. I'm joking. Thanks to Mr. Nilekani, we got the Aadhaar cards. So, pramana. So I know this is Ashok or Vishnu because he is there in the passport. Also, I know him for many years. The same Vishnu who grew up with me, he went to school. He was a good student, good at mathematics. I was terrible. I know all this. Mahavishnu, Vishnu, okay. Pramana, evidence, physical evidence. Now that physical evidence which proves that he is Vishnu can also cause fluctuations. What kind of fluctuations? If he is a good guy, then I am very happy to see happiness fluctuation. If he is a terrible fellow, the moment I see him approaching, I am thinking now what to do, this fellow is coming. Fear fluctuation, right? Or anger fluctuation. This fellow is coming, he's probably hiding a stick in his hand. So maybe I should take a knife, things like that. Or in Texas, a gun. So, fluctuation. How did this fluctuation happen? Through evidence, proper physical evidence that this is Vishnu, this guy. So that is one way of fluctuations. Reason for fluctuations is valid knowledge of a person or a thing. Suppose I am a Sankhya follower and I see a Vedantin and there is fluctuation. It happens, and believe me. Then there is an Advaita Vedantin. Okay? I have all pramanas that he is an Advaita Vedantin. Okay? And suppose I am a Dvaitin. I belong to the Madhava sect. Madhvacharya always sits like this with two fingers. That means there is no one, there is always two. Then, the moment I see the Advaitin, I get agitated, fluctuation. And how do I know it is? Because through past experience and valid perception, through pramana, I know that he is a Madhvite, so I am angry. Clash. In India, there are, please, for those who are not Indians, there are many followers of different sects. There is not all one, okay? There are many. So, I've got enough proof now of that part. Valid knowledge, pramana. Then, the second fluctuation is caused through viparyaya, misconceptions, illusions, which we can understand. Suppose I see somebody and I believe, I don't have any proof, any pramana, but I believe that this guy is a terrorist or a Marxist or something like that. I get agitated. It's an illusion. Really, he may not be. Maybe a good fellow, right? But I draw my conclusions based on misconceptions and illusions. It's like an optical illusion. In a glass of water, if I put a pencil, it might appear that it is bent like this, but it is an illusion, it's not a reality. Here is this great illusion that we live every day thinking that it is real and base our mind's happiness and so on it. The sun. The sun rises in the morning. Yeah, we see it every day. And it sets in the evening, we see it every day. But we know that the sun neither rises nor sets. It's the earth that is moving. It's a great illusion. But we base so much of our life on it. So this is viparyaya, that means fluctuations in the brain caused by illusions or suspecting somebody when there is no reason for. Suppose I live all my life suspecting people, what a hell of a life is that? If somebody smiles, well, he's trying to dig a hole. If somebody looks at you in a doubtful manner, I think he's going to steal my purse. Life is terrible. The brain is always fluctuating then. Now this is illusion, imagination, right? The third kind of viparyaya or fluctuation in the brain, or you can call it mind if you like, don't worry, is vikalpa. Vikalpa simply means mere words. It may not be a reality in it, it's merely words. Which means that somebody calls me a fool. Now the fact is I may be a fool, right? But I am very upset by it. See, somebody calls me a fool. He may be a guy from North India, he may be speaking in Hindi, he may be calling me a fool, a flower, but I think he's calling me a fool. What is the reaction? I get very angry. Why, how can he call me a fool? I won't get angry, I'm telling you. You can stand up and call me a fool. So how is this caused? By a mere word. A mere word can cause a fluctuation. Now this fluctuation can be both positive or negative, depending on the condition and the world and we. Like, for instance, there is a word. Very frequently I get it on my email. After the long email, I love you. Now this love is a word. What does it cause? It's a mere word, right? Now if you go to Google and if you want to send love and blessings, if you quickly don't put blessings, the Google has its own, it will put kisses. I did it twice, that mistake, and I am still suffering from it. Why all this trouble? Only because of a word. So you understand what it means. A word. Delusion consisting of a mere word. Vikalpa. The fourth delusion, or the fourth fluctuation of the brain, is nidra, sleep. Sleep also, both in Sankhya and Yoga Darshana, is considered to be a fluctuation. It's considered to be a klishta, vritaya. It's considered to be a, why? Because sleep is classified as tamoguna. Although tamoguna is required, a balance of sattva, rajas and tamo is the ideal human being. You cannot remove tamoguna entirely from a human being because sleep is classified in Sankhya as tamoguna. You have to sleep. Unless you are in such deep samadhi that you don't require sleep. That is a different matter. But generally, you have to sleep. So tamoguna is definitely there partly. Since it is classified as tamoguna, the Yoga Darshana considered it also as a delusion which can cause fluctuations in the brain. Now wait, how does sleep, deep sleep, cause fluctuations in the brain? Because in sleep also you have dreams and so on. Here they have not split in Yoga Darshana into Swapna Avastha and Sushupti. They are considering the whole thing together as deep as sleep, nidra. They have not said sushupti, they have not said swapna, they say nidra. Now in nidra both can occur. In that, if you have happy dreams, then your fluctuations are high. When you have bad dreams, the fluctuations, so there is fluctuation. Nidra. The last one is memory, smriti. Memory can also cause fluctuations in the brain. Because I have a bad memory with somebody, let's say. Every time that has happened 20 years ago, but every time I see that person, there is a memory of that unpleasantness. That causes fluctuations in the brain. Right? And what is caused? What causes this fluctuation? Memory. Smriti. So, Patanjali has classified, first it is said that the mind or the brain, whatever you want to call it, consists of fluctuations, conflict and agitation and is not normally tranquil. Having said that, he says, here are the reasons for the fluctuations, gone step by step in a very nice way, like a lecture in a university. Then, I have left a few sutras because they kind of are complementary or explaining what has been said, and gone to the 12th sutra. And what does the 12th sutra say? Abhyasa vairagya abhayam tan nirodha. Now these fluctuations can be made to go off from the brain, and the brain can be made tranquil. How? Through practice and through dispassion. Meaning not being ruled by emotions, not reacting to emotions, good or bad. The fluctuations will be reduced, and through restraint. How do you restrain? How can you cultivate the quality of restraint? Through practice only. It cannot be done in a day, and through dispassion. Not getting emotionally caught up. Now I have, not me, M has commented on this. Dispassion, there is one fellow called M, so he has. Dispassion, simply put, means not being at the mercy of passions. Well, everybody has emotions. In life you have to expect, but don't be at the mercy of your emotions. Rise above them. Don't get caught up. I want to marry that Reddy bugger. That Reddy fellow. I'm talking about somebody, not in general. They are good people. Rise above passions. The person who I talked to understood what I said. So, dispassion, simply put, means not being at the mercy of passions. A dispassionate person is one who has learned to restrain himself from actions which in the long run cause pain, though they may be pleasurable at first. That's one way to restrain. To see that emotions are good, emotions are necessary in this life. Can you imagine a person who has no emotions? Horrible. It's not that. But to make sure that they're not just passions which look for immediate happiness while there is unhappiness in store for a long time to come. In fact, you can be saved from a lot of problems if you do that. Even in this life. You can refuse to accept gifts from companies when they promote. Joking. So, dispassion, simply put, means not being at the mercy of passions. A dispassionate person is one who has learned to restrain himself from actions which in the long run cause pain, though they may be pleasurable at first. When one is firmly situated in a dispassionate space, the brain, instead of moving towards becoming, learn to be. When this is uninterrupted, the real identity called the Purusha, the mind, comes to the fore. Let me put it this way. When one is firmly established in the dispassionate space, the brain, instead of moving towards becoming, look at our lives. We are always becoming something. It could be physical, it could be material, it could be spiritual. We're becoming. Plato once said that there are two things in this universe. One is I-S, capital I. Of the two, one is I-S, and the other is not, but is always becoming. Becoming. Becoming indicates that we are not at the moment there, and therefore we miss the isness of it, and are always becoming, in the mind also, becoming. The becoming process stops, then there is the isness, the mind in its original state. Such a mind does not act on passion. It's tranquil. It takes decisions based on proper reasoning. It doesn't get caught up in something that is temporarily pleasant and in the long run unpleasant. So at some point when the mind is becoming, and it always does in this world, at some point you have to say, hey, stop. For 10 minutes can we not become? Let's not think of becoming anything. Let's be as we are. So look, if we don't be and are always thinking of becoming, we don't see the actual substance that is, right? Because it's always covered by this idea of becoming. But in this world, it's always there. I'm not saying it's not there, it is there. But we have to see it clearly. If you see it clearly, then there is a possibility that it could stop. If you see it clearly and see how it unnecessarily creates problems for us. If we see that, it could stop. There's no other way to do it. So, here the commentator is saying that dispassion, simply put, means not being at the mercy of passions, which means a dispassionate person is one who has learned to restrain himself from action, which in the long run cause pain, though they may seem pleasurable at first. And when one is firmly situated in a dispassionate space, the brain, instead of moving towards becoming, learns to just be, at least for some time, few minutes in the beginning, maybe. When this is uninterrupted for a long period of time, then the brain disappears and there is only the Purusha. Mind is there. The brain, the constantly becoming brain, becomes quiet and disappears. Then what remains? You're conscious still, right? You're not dead or unconscious. That consciousness is the mind. You may call it Purusha according to yogic terminology. I think that is clear now. yoga practitioners, that means those who are attempting to practice yoga, which means who are trying to practice chitta vritti nirodha, who are trying to keep the vrittis out of the chitti, they are classified as mild, medium, and intense. Yes, Patanjali has split the practitioners into three. Mild, those who practice mildly, which means, well, I will go on becoming and doing all these things, but sometimes for half an hour I'll sit down and try. Okay, good. Mild. Then there is the medium. Most of the time, much of the time they want to be quiet. Now, mind you, it doesn't interfere in any way with what you're doing in your life. It's not as if you're sitting in one place. It's the condition of the mind that is important. And then there are the intense who wants to do it once for all and be free. Now, the next sutra, 20, 23, 24, 25 and so on, are going to describe to us how this can be achieved. How the mind, with its constant indulgences and becomings and fluctuations, can be made to become quiet and tranquil, which is the tarmac to take off for higher levels of consciousness, the actual runway. That will be described in 20, 23, 24. So it's 12:30 now. I think we should. Anybody has a good bookmark to keep? क्या है? So now I have also become a volunteer. Chalo. Okay, see you in the afternoon. Have good meal. Yoga is also sustaining your body, so